In connection with the fire on Table Mountain in Cape Town, the fire is being fanned by strong southeasterly winds. Several roads remain closed near the University of Cape Town, where 3 buildings, including the famed Jagger library, were damaged. Residents at Vredehoek have also been evacuated from their homes. Cape Town Mayoral Committee Member for Safety and Security, J.P. Smith, says police are looking for 2 more suspects. The city of Cape Town has called on people living on the slopes of Table Mountain to evacuate their homes when asked to do so. Students at UCT were evacuated from their residences as the massive blaze spread. The firefighter has also been taken to hospital with burn wounds. The mountain fire spread from Rhodes Memorial to the campus in the early afternoon yesterday. The historic Mostert's Mill in Mowbray has been destroyed, as well as private homes close by.
Numerous residents then started to immediately call to see they were observing 3 men moving through the bush, setting fires one after the other. And we got traffic and law enforcement, Metro Police, all the neighborhood watch members and everybody out there. And not too long, one of the residents there, Jagger Evans, found a gentleman standing adjacent to a fire that had just been started, and a law enforcement officer then found them there. An arrest was made. This person is now in the custody of the South African police, and he did in his conversation with the law enforcement officer admit that he was responsible for the fire. Which fire at this stage is unclear, and whether he will own up to responsibility for the big fire, or whether he's simply involved in the additional fires being started.
Well, for more on this story, we cross to our reporter, Vanessa Puna. Thanks very much for joining us, Vanessa. Very windy where you are, I see. Just tell us what the latest is.
Yes, good afternoon to you. And joining me in a short while will be J.P. Smith. We just heard the sound clip from him over there. Of course, very windy conditions here in Cape Town since yesterday. In the early hours of this morning, around 2 o'clock, according to the authorities, the wind turned. And of course, that's when we saw the fire making its way over this part of Devil's Peak, resulting in people being evacuated on the upper slopes of Vredehoek this morning. Joining me now again is J.P. Smith, Maker Member for Safety and Security in the City of Cape Town. JP, a short while ago we just had a sound clip from you explaining about the 1 arrest. Can you tell us whether there have been any further arrests at this stage in connection with this fire, which has now not only destroyed historical buildings but also resulted in people having to evacuate their homes, and also up to 4 firefighters that have been injured in this blaze?
Yes, no further arrests at this stage. What we did have last night is, after that fire was initially under control in the fire break, the area between Rhodes Memorial and Devil's Peak, between those High Cape residences, what then happened is that residents started calling furiously to the call centre, myself, saying that they're observing 3 people walking through the bush, and as they're going, new fires are starting. I said, are you absolutely sure? That sounds too incredible to be true. They said, no, we're definitely seeing. It's not embers lighting up, it's new fires starting. So we had law enforcement, traffic, Metro Police, everybody we could scramble in this area to get to the scene. And at that stage, a resident, Jagger Evans, found a guy present at a fire at one of these fire spots, and we handed this person to the law enforcement officer who arrived at the scene. And when the law enforcement officer asked him, what are you doing? Did you start this fire? He said yes. So that person is in custody. We don't know if he's mentally sound, and the circumstances under which he described himself as having been responsible for that fire. So too early to suggest what exactly is happening there, or if he's maybe responsible for the other fires. Whether it's an accidental fire that got out of control, or whether it was malicious fire setting. So not clear at this stage, but either way, the person is in custody at SABC. A case of arson has been opened. The City Safety and Security investigations unit is supporting the investigation, and Sandparks has brought on board a forensic fire investigator who will also be assisting. So hopefully we'll get to the bottom of this and understand how this all happened.
JP, let us talk about the firefighting efforts. I understand, and we've seen it, over 200 firefighters at the moment from various disciplines: City of Cape Town Fire and Emergency Services, volunteer wild fire services, as well as working on fire. We also saw an Oryx earlier on doing a sort of recon, but of course there are no helicopters today in this wind.
Yes, very sad that because of the incredibly strong wind at the airport, the wind was gusting upwards of 30 kilometers an hour. Here, the indication is 45 kilometers an hour and higher, so the choppers cannot get airborne. Way too dangerous. You will have an air disaster in between all of this. The Oryx was here, but even that was not having an EVC time. So no airborne support today. Very sad because they're a huge assistance. Over 250 city firefighters and about probably 50 to 100 extra working on fire, volunteer wildfire and sandpark staff, all helping, aside from the throngs of members of the public delivering items here and companies and businesses, all of which we're deeply grateful to. Thank you to the people of Cape Town. Can always be relied on to do the right thing. And then disaster management is shuffling these resources onto the 4 different points where the staff are now again collecting that. So any donations of food at this stage, not so much water, that we have enough of, but food, chocolate bars, things that are individually plastic wrapped that we can take to staff, very valuable. And there was a precautionary evacuation this morning in the roads closest to the urban edge, to that green belt. Should it become necessary later today in relation to either Walmer Estate or the top of Vredehoek around the Deer Park Drive area, then disaster management will advise, and we will take such actions if necessary, and that all depends on the wind direction. Wind is forecast to drop, but sadly only much later this afternoon.
JP, then finally, before I let you go, I understand there will be a media briefing at 1 o'clock this afternoon, so I'm not going to take up too much of your time right now. The impact on the roads around Cape Town, because quite a number of roads have remained closed. Can you just give us an impact assessment at this stage of which roads remain closed and how this impacts motorists in Cape Town?
Okay, so obviously Philip Gosana, or also De Waal Drive, as it's known still to some people, that remains closed. Fire department is using that operationally, so too many large vehicles and stuff there for the public to use that at the moment. The wind is blowing the smoke up into the mountain and over the mountain, so not a major visibility hazard on the roads lower down, so not major impact at the moment, but we will have a full briefing at 1 o'clock from the incident commander, Arlene Weir.
Thank you so much for your time. Councillor JP Smith, of course, the Mako Member for Safety and Security in the City of Cape Town, just giving us an update with regards to this fire that, of course, has wreaked havoc since yesterday when it broke out at Rhodes Memorial on the slopes of Table Mountain.
Thanks very much, my colleague there, Vanessa Puna. This is